All right, joining me once again here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is my good friend Richard Eskow. Richard is a senior fellow at Campaign for America's Future, which you can find at ourfuture.org. You can also find him on Twitter at RJ Eskow. Richard, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Oh, it's always great to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, so Richard, a few weeks ago, many people are aware that Twitter exploded all over the sci-fi network horror movie Sharknado. And you actually wrote a really funny piece on how our country is being attacked by a Sharknado of sorts, except it's actually not sharks. Tell us all about it.
Well, there are all these people who always theorize that science fiction movies and horror movies are about our cultural circumstances. In the 50s they had Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and they said that was about fear of communist invasion and all that. So, in the nuclear war movies, it's the horror movies of monsters in Japan destroying Tokyo. They said that was a reaction to the nuclear attacks at the end of 1945 that ended the war. Well, Sharknado, Sharknado was a movie where huge twisters or tornadoes filled with man-eating sharks descended on Los Angeles, and all those biting, vicious animals came flying out to raining down from the sky to kill the innocent people. And so my piece, what could people be worried about that's got them thinking that way? Well, my piece was called Banknado, and it pointed out that in many ways, the best metaphor for Wall Street nowadays is a tornado filled with teeth and predatory desire to kill, because the level of criminality that's still coming. In Banknado, if you saw it, one tornado after another keeps raining down, and in our case, the Banknado, the attacks from the Wall Street banks, whether it's foreclosure fraud, investor fraud, deceiving their own the shareholders, whether it's breaking laws, lying to regulators, filing false information that manipulates mortgage rates. The list goes on. And the thing is, like, as with any good horror movie, just when you think it's over, it starts again. So that was basically the premise of my piece. And while we talk, people sometimes talk politically as if the problem's been solved, the banks are continuing to commit one heinous act after another. So the Banknado goes on.
No, absolutely. And that's the thing that I think bothers people the most, and should bother people the most, that even after, the economy collapsing and then the massive bailouts, and that, listeners to this show know there's no Wall Street executives have been prosecuted, and as we'd like to think that Dodd-Frank did something, it might have done a couple of solid things, at least like with the Consumer Product Commission with Elizabeth Warren's group, but really there is not very much has actually changed. In fact, the problem's actually gotten worse with the big banks.
Right. If you look at the 1-2 punch of this massive wave of mortgage fraud and investor fraud that we saw, leading to and principally causing the 2008 crisis, 0 prosecutions after that, whereas you had more than 1,000 after the much smaller savings and loan crisis in the 1980s. So that's really sending a message to bankers: keep doing what you're doing. No one's going to prosecute you. And then on top of that, you have the Attorney General of the United States saying, and I quote, if you do prosecute and bring a criminal charge, and he meant against the big banks, it will have a negative opinion on the national economy, perhaps even the world economy. In other words, he's explaining why he has no intention of prosecuting a criminal banker at a large bank. That's basically a red flag saying, go ahead and continue to commit your crimes. And by the way, the Attorney General said this. He kind of lamely tried to walk it back after there was a huge outcry, but it didn't really work. He said this about HSBC, after one of the major banks, after it came out that they had done a number of things, including breaking sanctions against states that have been declared outlaw states, and laundering money for the Mexican drug cartels, which Wachovia Bank also did. Wells Fargo was able to plead out to that. It owns Wachovia without an indictment. So you actually have bankers who have, morally anyway, been accomplices after the fact to the Mexican drug cartels that have killed maybe 65,000 people, and who do it, by the way, by going into a town, cutting off the heads of 20 people, and leaving them in the town square, or as they did to announce their original formation, by rolling those severed heads out into the floor of the town disco on Saturday night while everybody was there dancing. So you literally have these insane, barbaric killers like Los Zetas, who are led by somebody who's called the madman in Spanish. You literally have them being helped by bankers in, three-piece suits on Wall Street, and those bankers don't get prosecuted. And what is that except an invitation to commit even the worst kind of crimes, knowing that you're going to go free? That's the Banknado we're in.